Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into something deeply personal, something we kind of don't talk about enough. We're going to explore the raw, totally unfiltered world of online poetry communities, specifically looking at writers on Lemonade. We really want to understand exactly how people process profound grief, navigate heartbreak, and, ultimately, find healing through the written word.
User Monica FM shared this thought, and it honestly strikes right at the core of what we're talking about. Everyone thinks you're strong, that you have it all together. But just because you carry it well doesn't mean it isn't heavy. Now, if you're watching this and you've been carrying a heavy emotional burden totally silently, maybe because you're the one who always says, "I got it," I really want you to know your experience is valid. It is incredibly isolating to be the strong one all the time. But through these shared words we're looking at today, you'll see you are absolutely not alone.
Section 1. The weight of heartbreak.
Let's start right at the epicenter of that emotional gut punch, the unique agony of the one-sided relationship. You know the feeling, right? When you give absolutely everything to someone. You hold their weight, you calm their storms, you put their pain way ahead of your own, and you get literally nothing in return. It completely drains you. The sources we looked at highlight how this unbalanced dynamic breeds profound resentment and just a really deep sense of isolation. Because, well, your vulnerability and effort are just being met with total apathy.
The poet, Lauren, brilliantly captures this stark contrast between giving and receiving empathy. She writes, 8 months of you, 1 month of me. A heart betrayed, no remedy. Man, that perfectly encapsulates the emotional turmoil of realizing the person you carry just isn't willing to carry you. It's a jarring realization. It's like making a single cry for help, only to be met with abandoned hope and a slammed door.
Now, poet Zarima Rose brings up another really fascinating concept, and that is the twin flame. So a twin flame isn't your standard romantic heartbreak. It's described as a deep, mirror-like soul connection that's really meant for spiritual growth. But here's the catch. It often comes with excruciating periods of separation. This creates a really unique wound-like ache. It's this feeling of just being left alone in the rain with all these unanswered questions. Mostly because this kind of separation challenges your deepest feelings of worthiness and self-love.
Section 2. The deafening silence. That immediate aftermath of a breakup is so often defined by a profound emptiness. Thomas D. writes, "There's no silence more deafening than the one between two people who once whispered forever. The absence of that loved one's voice basically transforms into a bittersweet reminder of a forever that, well, just didn't last." All those unexpressed emotions just sort of accumulate in that empty, quiet space, haunting you with the echoes of what used to be.
In that silence, it often forces a really harsh reality check between the idealized love we see on TV and real-life love. You know, TV and movies constantly sell us this version of love that is simple, guaranteed, and perfectly scripted. But the reality that we see processed in all these poems is complex, it's messy, and it absolutely requires mutual effort. More importantly, real love has to align with your own standards and self-worth. If it doesn't, walking away, even with that painful silence that follows, is completely necessary to preserve yourself.
Section 3. Solitude and night drives.
Poet Samantha Camarga highlights a super fascinating contrast here. During the day, the distracting noise and the crazy busy pace of life kind of act like a shield, right? They suppress grief down to just a tiny whisper. But nighttime? The quiet darkness totally strips away those distractions. It forces the heart to fully confront its pain, because in the quiet of the night, that emptiness practically screams for attention. And get this, there's actually science backing this up. Studies suggest that driving, especially during those calm, uninterrupted nighttime hours, actually activates areas of the brain involved in emotional regulation and creative thinking. The rhythmic sound of tires on asphalt, the lack of external distractions, it creates this incredibly meditative environment. It's a safe space that actually helps people articulate complex inner thoughts, untangle those bittersweet memories, and ultimately write the poetry that helps them heal.
And these solitary night drives do have an ultimate, hopeful goal in mind. As Samantha Camargo writes, "And maybe one day when I hear your name, it won't be your name anymore." That just beautifully captures the slow, hopeful process of emotional detachment. It's that simple wish for the day when a name that currently makes your stomach drop just becomes a neutral sound. And that right there is a true marker of healing. Section 4. Poetry as sanctuary. Across these poems, we actually see a highly structured emotional evolution taking place. Day 1 is the break, that raw, shattering pain. Week 1 brings the deafening silence. Month 1 is the introspection, which is filled with all those long night drives we just talked about. And then year 1 is the rebuilding.
This progression shows us that raw, isolated pain does not last forever. It gradually transitions into a really therapeutic release and eventually a powerful return to self-love. Just look at this stunning imagery from wandering poets. I have been both the flame and the ash. The breaking taught me how to bend. I mean, this is exactly why poetry matters. Writing and reading these words fosters incredible resilience. It allows survivors of heartbreak to process their trauma and learn how to bend, to adapt, rather than just permanently breaking under the crushing weight of their grief. So the absolutely crucial point I want you to take away from this is that connecting with online poetry communities transforms what feels like an isolating burden into a shared healing process. If you're struggling silently right now, engaging with hashtags, reading other people's stories, or even posting your own thoughts totally validates your experience. It proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you are not alone in the dark.
Section 5. The Journey to Healing.
Across all the source material we reviewed, we see some really clear, actionable coping mechanisms. If you're navigating your own emotional transitions right now, here's what you can do. First, embrace the vulnerability of writing or reading poetry. Second, join supportive online forums so you don't have to carry the weight all by yourself. Third, practice journaling to process those complex, messy emotions that always seem to hit around 3 a.m. And finally, seek out therapy and really prioritize active self-care. You absolutely have the power to actively participate in your own recovery.
And, when you do that work, you can reach this incredible, empowering realization, which is so beautifully stated here by a store of poetry. The heartbreak that you gave me turned into infinite possibilities, lessons in fragility, faces in the sun. Pain really can be transformed into art. Surviving a broken heart actually reveals your incredible inner strength, and it opens up a whole world of possibilities you couldn't even see when you were stuck in the dark.
Which brings us to our final thought to wrap up this explainer. If the heartbreak gave you infinite possibilities, what will you write in your next chapter? The pen is in your hand and the pages are totally blank. Thank you so much for diving into this topic with us, and I really hope you leave today inspired to embrace whatever comes next.